Hi guys, so I'm trying something new today, and for the first time ever I'm going to make an Airfix kit. And obviously there's loads to choose from, planes, boats, all kinds of stuff, but I decided to go with a tank just because, well, I like tanks. And yes, I've gone for this one. It's pretty cheap, it's about £9 on Amazon. Obviously get me tools ready, so me clippers, my blade and some good old glue. And yeah, let's see what we can do with this thing. So it says there's about 80 odd parts in this. And by the looks of it, most of those are going to be, well, little wheels, I think. Yeah, going to go through the instructions. I say it's probably going to be fairly simple. There's like ratings of these kits, and I think this one is rating 2. I think it starts from 1, goes up to 5. 1 being the easiest. So yeah, so I've obviously gone for a fairly basic sort of kit. Yeah, just to say, this is the first time I've ever done one of these. I've never done one as a kid. And yeah, I've always kind of wanted to do one of these kind of kits, and this seemed like a good time to try it. So yeah, as I was saying, I think by the looks of it, 80 odd parts in this kit, and they're all made up with these little wheels. Yeah, so obviously lots to do, sticking these little suckers on. But again, this is my first one of ever doing this, so I am following the instructions exactly. Although in hindsight, once I had sort of made part of this, there's some stages I could have missed out, and even some stages, well, I would have done differently. But again, it's all trial and error. But yeah, no, I had fun making it, and I say it was just nice to try something that I'd always wanted to do, and never quite got around to doing it. So if any of you guys have done any Airfix models, let me know, or even the Gundam. That's something else that I want to sort of have a go at making. Well, obviously, who doesn't like big robots? So yeah, I'm going to try a Gundam one possibly next. Or maybe another Airfix one. Might go for a plane. But yeah, guys, let me know in the comments if you've ever done any Airfix sort of kits. Which ones you do. Yeah, if there's any tips and tricks. I say, this thing went together pretty well. But it was a bit, well, the kind of bit I'm doing now, I possibly would have done differently. Because how I did it, I followed the instructions. Say, most of it went together pretty well. But the other side of what I'm currently gluing didn't go together very well, but it's the other side that you actually get to see more of rather than this bit that I'm doing. So yeah, I probably would have done this a little differently, but again, good old hindsight. It's great to look back and think, oh yeah, I could have done that so much better, so much easier. So this bit was a bit fiddly and tricky, but obviously the main thing with this hobby is it kind of takes me into a nice sort of mellow zone. Well, I'm kind of mellow anyway, to be honest. This gets me even more relaxed doing these kind of like mundane sort of tasks, and yeah, just sort of like drift off into my own wibbly wobbly world. Yeah, although guys, let me know as well, because the glue that I was using was this Tamiya cement stuff, and well, it didn't really look or feel like it sort of glued stuff together very well. So let me know if you use a different kind of glue for this sort of plastic. Yeah, because it really didn't feel like the glue was sort of dissolving or melting the plastic into itself. So I did kind of go over some areas just to add a little bit of super glue, just because, well, yeah, this glue didn't seem to work. So again, guys, let me know in the comments. So I want to do some more of these Airfix models, and say, because I am new to this, I would love to have your input and your advice on yeah, the proper sort of tools, glue, and maybe even some other kits that would be good to go for. So this was only a level 2 one. I'm happy to jump straight into a level 5 because I do obviously like reading the instructions and following things by the book. So that should be fine. So this next bit is where I was saying that I should have done it a bit differently. So this bit that I've currently all glued together is actually on the inside, so you don't really get to see much of it. Whereas this bit I'm about to put on is on the outside, and the problem I had was lining up all these little wheels that I've done at the bottom. They've all got obviously like a little well, a little knobby bit that's meant to poke through a hole, and well, trying to get them lined up, I did my best. It took me quite a while, but I could only line up, well, I don't know, not even probably half of them. And this is where, say, if I'd known, I would have glued these wheels onto this outer bit first and then put the inner bit on, because obviously the inner bit you don't see, the outer bit you do see. So yeah, as you can see, some of the holes are lined up, some aren't. So on the inside, obviously all the knobby bits line up with the holes. On the outside I can only manage to get, well, not even half. But hey ho, we all learn by our mistakes, or sometimes someone's telling us how to do things better. So yeah, say again, this Tamiya cement glue, it just didn't seem to adhere bits together. I know it doesn't obviously glue straight away. It can take a little while for it to work its magic, but you can generally feel when you're pushing two bits of plastic together, you can sort of feel they are kind of like dissolving or melting into each other, which is obviously the whole purpose of the cement glue. But on these, I don't know if it's because these are, well, painted or coated in something. But yeah, the glue just didn't seem to work. And that's why I kind of decided just to go around using super glue, just to make sure everything did stick together and didn't fall apart sort of at the end when I'm trying to paint it. So yeah, good old super glue for the win here. Yeah, it's a fairly simple little thing this. The gun the gun nozzle there, a little bit curved. I guess that helps shoot round corners, I'm not too sure. I did try and sort of manipulate it very softly to be a little bit, well, a bit straighter. But yeah, so everything else seemed to go together pretty well, which is nice. And the cleaning up process wasn't too bad. I know a few little areas here and there I had to sort of scrape, but in general it sort of came off pretty good. No real mould lines, just probably the bits and pieces or areas where I cut it off the sprue. So yeah, all went together nicely. And a good old moving turret. I do end up gluing this in position, just because obviously when I come to paint it, I didn't want it sort of, well, whizzing around and moving. So I've got some of this, this sort of, I think it's about 1-inch foam board. It's pretty cool stuff. So yeah, gently cutting it, making sure I am cutting away from my hand, which is something I normally do. But quite recently I did accidentally cut my finger. Yeah, obviously it didn't fall off, but it was quite a deep cut. So trying to be very careful here, because obviously this blade, yeah, it does slice through through butter rather easily. So obviously I'm not going to do too much with the terrain here. I just want to have an area cut out, which is where obviously the sort of tank treads would have sunk into it. This is mostly going to be like a muddy sort of terrain piece. There's going to be a few little bushes of grass here and there, but in general mostly muddy. So that's why I kind of want it looking like the tank has sunk in and made some grooves. And then using my favourite stuff, which to be honest I haven't used for quite some time, so it was nice to get it out. Who are madam? Although to be honest, I think because I haven't used this for a while, it has started to go off. So I need to get a new pot, because this one, well, it's not as smooth as it generally is when you first get it. It's very lumpy, this one, and yeah, as you can see, normally when you spread this out, it would stick and adhere to whatever you're putting it on straight away. But this stuff, because it had dried out a little bit, it took a little bit more convincing to sort of like keep it onto the board. But yeah, get there in the end. But yeah, I'm going to go and order some new or another pot of grout, just because, well, I love using the grout. It just hides so many mistakes, and is obviously great for all kinds of terrain that you want to be well, rough, textured, or whatever. So I let it dry for about 20 minutes, half hour. And this stuff takes like a good few hours to be sort of like rock hard and all that. But yeah, so about 20 minutes later, so I could sort of smooth it down and well, basically make the tracks a bit deeper, and then getting me my actual tank, and I can just sort of push that down and leave some tank treads, which is pretty cool. Which is what I obviously wanted, because I wanted it to look like this had obviously driven through the mud and left tank treads behind it. And yeah, so then I left that obviously overnight, because it does take a good 12 hours or more to fully sort of harden. And then we're on to the fun bit about painting, which is obviously, if you're new to the channel, you just know I love painting. If you've been here for a while, you'll know that I used to hate painting. But as you can see, I am doing the old Slapchop method. Obviously use that more for miniatures, or that's mainly what I've been painting recently is miniatures. So yeah, thought I'd have a go and seeing just how well, or if at all, the Slapchop sort of painting technique would work on, well, on a tank. Got a few more sort of dioramas I'm thinking of doing, and this sort of technique I will be basically trying for everything, just because I love using the speed paints, contrast paints, and doing this sort of Slapchop sort of method of priming in black and then dry brushing in grey, and then going over and dry brushing in white. Just obviously it catches all the edges and the highlights, and yeah, it just sort of adds an extra layer to when you're doing the contrast paints over the top. So it's the first time I've ever sort of done it on a non-miniature, and yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how it's come out. It's obviously with a tank, there's not really obviously a lot of colours to go with it. So yeah, I was pleased that it did come out because I wasn't too sure just sort of how well it would look eventually. But yeah, very pleased with the end result. And like anything, I actually enjoyed doing the whole process, which is the main thing about this hobby. You really want to make it so you are enjoying it. Because if you're not enjoying it, well, either you're doing something wrong, or you need to be trying something new. So I always like to get all the paints sort of ready to hand that I'm going to be using on well, whatever it is I'm painting. As you can see, not too many colours, and not surprisingly, because it is sort of like a tank, it's mostly greens, browns, and well, black. Because that's the main colours that well, tanks generally are, just so they can hide in the camouflage. So the tank treads have really come out looking good. So I'm using a lighter brown for the actual tank treads, just to make it look like obviously the ground underneath is sort of softer and wetter, and then a nice dark brown for the top, as obviously this is the well, the crusty bit, I guess we could call it. So yeah, good old speed paints. Yeah, just slapping these on, and they seem to sort of work pretty well with the sort of the highlights or dry brushing underneath that gets us obviously show through. So yeah, pleased with how that all turned out. For the tank itself, I wasn't too sure what sort of green to go for because I've got quite a few. So I've actually gone for a green that I've started using on my orcs. Bit of a strange choice to possibly use for a tank, but I just loved how it looked. And so the greens that I've got are, I've got a few, but all the others are quite a dark green. And yeah, I didn't really want this looking too dark. I kind of wanted it looking more, well, as it looking a bit more muddy looking. So this obviously is a green, but it's kind of got a little hint of brown in it as well. So I thought I would just tie in nicer than doing like a real sort of dark green. Because my plan is obviously, as you've seen in the thumbnail, is to add some brown bits on this. Not to make it look like a cow, but to hopefully make it look like it would hide more in sort of trees and forestry areas. So yeah, so this green, I say it is a green, but it does look, funny enough, more on camera, more like a brown. But it does sort of dry a little bit darker later. Plus I do go over and give it a few coats, just to sort of help get the more green looking. I was going to do the tank treads in a black, but then obviously as this is going through the mud, the whole of the tank treads would have obviously, well, got the mud all over it. So that's why I'm doing the light brown, the same as obviously the on the terrain piece, just to help sort of tie that in. Yeah, so the green's dried and I was pleased with how it looked, but even with the orcs sometimes I do give them a second coat, so I just fancied giving the whole thing a second coat just to make the greener areas, well, greener if that was at all possible. So yeah guys, let me know in the comments what you think I should get next. Say I fancy getting a plane. If I did, it would probably be the good old Spitfire, just because, well, it's quite an iconic plane. But yeah, if there's anything you think I should get, by all means let me know. I say I've never really even looked into what you can sort of get with the Airfix kind of kits, or even any other sort of kits. So this is my first ever sort of kit that I've ever brought, and so I do know I can get a Spitfire, so I might have a look at that. I say even the Gundam, the sort of the robots sort of things. But yeah, by all means guys, let me know what you think I should get, because I did enjoy making this because it was definitely something new. And yeah, very enjoyable. So this is obviously where I'm just adding some brown splodges. Initially it sounded like a good idea doing this, but then when I sort of was doing it, to be honest, I wasn't really happy with how this was coming out. It kind of did feel like it was going to look like, well, like a cow with some brown splodges all over it. But it's one of those things that once you start, you've got to keep going, persevere, and hope the end result does sort of start to get better than how it's currently looking. So yeah, so I did all the brown splodges, glued it down, and then I thought, I know a best way of making this all sort of blend in, possibly a bit better, go over it with some more green. And that's exactly what I did. Although to be honest, this did help tie it in. And I think it's because the brown just looked too sort of brown and splodgy. So having the green back over the top kind of diffused it a little bit and helped blend it in a bit more. Because as I say, when I did do these brown bits, yeah, I thought for a moment, oh no, here we go, back to the old days of when I hated painting because I'd do something, ruin it, and I just wouldn't be happy. And yeah, at this point when I did the brown, I was a little bit like, ooh, yeah, bit of a mistake there. But no, it ended up as a good result in the end, so that's handy. So yeah, I've got these little tufts of grass. I've got a whole variety. I've got some like normal greens, but obviously because this is a bit more of a muddy patch, I kind of wanted it to be more of, well, dead grass. Can't remember where I got, well, no, I do know where I got these from. They would have been Amazon, but I'm not sure what sort of packs they came in. I think these might have been all separate. Honestly, can't remember because these grassy bits I probably had sitting in a drawer for a couple of years. So yeah, I'm not too sure where they came from, apart from say Amazon, but I'm not sure who sort of supplied them. But yeah, these didn't want to put too much on. So I wanted this to look more of a sort of a derelict sort of looking track that this tank's on. So sometimes less is more. Does that make sense? Less is more? Yeah, I think so. That's what I did. Yeah, again, when I looked at the tank, it still looked a little bit too kind of clean looking. So yes, I wanted to go around, sort of dirty it up a little bit. So initially, as you can see, I'm going around to dry brushing some silver just to hit the edges. Because this obviously helps make the thing look more, well, metallic. Just been able to see a little bit of metal coming through. Yeah, very pleased with this. Say very dry brush. There was hardly any paint on this, so I am sort of rubbing pretty hard. Yeah, sounds a bit wrong, but there you go. That's what I was doing, and it all came out good in the end. So there is one thing I've never done with any of the miniatures that I've ever sort of painted, and that's use transfers. But as this tank has got some transfers, I thought I'd have a go. So with all the orcs I've ever painted, and even the Space Marines, I've never used any of the transfers. I've got a whole drawer just absolutely full of the things. So this seemed like the ideal time to give it a go. Didn't really know exactly what I was doing because I've never really looked into how you put transfers on. Other than I know you're meant to dip them in water, as that helps the helps the transfer come away from the back end. That's what I did, and yeah, lo and behold, it's simple. So I might start using more transfers on all my little miniatures just because, well, because it is so simple. If there was a proper technique for doing this, guys, let me know. Say I was literally having these in a little bit of water for about 15-20 seconds and then picking them out, and then yeah, the transfers just sort of slid off nice and easy. So good old gun barrels. Yeah, I know if you don't do it on the Warhammer figures, you do get told off. Plus this one, the actual end of the gun, it did look a bit silly, the fact that there wasn't a hole at the end. So yeah, I carefully did this. Again, I was in two minds about doing this, mainly because obviously it is so small, the slightest mistake and, well, I'd have broke it. But I would have had a backup plan of I would have 3D printed one if I had broke it. So yeah, I thought it was worth having a go. So to finish off, I've got some of this Vallejo rust wash, and yeah, I'm just adding this a lot to the wheels and tyres because it does kind of look a bit sort of muddy looking. And then yeah, no real sort of idea of where I'm putting it, just here and there, where bits of metal join. And then I did start going over, and any areas that I dry brushed silver, I put a little bit of rust over those sort of areas. And just because I didn't want too much on there, every now and then I'd put some on and then sort of like put my thumb or finger over it just to sort of smudge it and to sort of take a few bits off, as this just helped sort of blend it in really. So it's more weathering, I think, this rather than sort of a full-on rust effect. I had considered making this a bit of a rust bucket, but then I thought no, because that's kind of how, if you're old here and you've seen all my old videos, you'll know that most of my painting used to be rust buckets, just because I found that the easiest thing to do. And then yeah, last little thing, just to sort of tidy it all up, go around the base, give it a nice sort of coat of paint. I'm using this is one of these really old cheap kiddies black acrylic paints, nice big old pot, 99p. And yeah, it goes around the edge, job done. Okay, let's see this in all its glory. hope you enjoyed the video, guys. It was nice to sort of try something new. And yeah, I'm pleased with how this came out. I say it's the first time ever doing an Airfix model. And yeah, absolutely loved it. So definitely going to be doing some more. So let me know in the comments what you think I should sort of have a go at making next. And yeah, I'll have a go at doing that. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell. I do produce videos every week, sometimes 2 or 3. And yeah, leave comments down below, guys. Hit the like button, all that good stuff. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.